Would you be concerned if you found out the time it takes for an ambulance to get to your home has risen significantly under Mayor Bass? Well, there's an answer to this problem, and the solution can be found by listening to people who work in a fire station, like this one here. Common sense can go a long way towards solving problems in Los Angeles. Let me start with a few basic facts. The fire department responds to 5 times more calls from a population that's 50% larger than a generation ago, with about the same number of people in the department. That ought to concern all of us. There are many reasons for the added call volume, including the homelessness crisis. About a third of fires involve people experiencing homelessness, so you're left with 2/3 of the fire department handling everything else. This has a direct impact on the time it takes an ambulance to get to an emergency. In Los Angeles, response times have risen more than a minute in the past decade, and continue to get worse under Mayor Bass. The median time is approaching 8 minutes. This increase in response times isn't a secret, as this social media post by the fire department makes clear on a regular weekend day. An astute observer would have noticed a bunch of red dots spread across the city on the dispatch screen. Each red dot is a fire station that didn't have an ambulance available because they were tied up on a call. Some important context for response times. The American Heart Association says every minute delay in response to a heart attack results in a 10% decrease in the chance of survival. Delayed responses can have tragic consequences. 8 minutes, 5 minutes. These numbers reflect many thousands of calls. What really matters is how quickly help gets to each person. The city has a goal reflecting the NFPA standard that 90% of ambulance responses should arrive in under 5 minutes. Despite the heroic efforts of people who work in Station 63, only 38% of people got help in 5 minutes. You can go to our website, austinforla.com, and find out how long it takes an ambulance to arrive at your house. How do we solve this? One part is simple math. Increase the fire department's budget to add more people, stations, and equipment to handle the volume of calls. Firefighters put on what are called turnouts for protection when they respond to fires, but many of them lack a usable second set, so they have to respond to an incident with the sweaty pair they just had on. That sweat, mixed with the toxic chemicals, quickly turns to steam in a fire, potentially scalding firefighters and further exposing them to toxins. Firefighters and paramedics have to have the equipment they need to do their job safely and well. And we need to make progress addressing the challenge of homelessness. But there's something else we can do right away at very little cost. I learned this by listening to people who work here in Station 63. When I visited schools as superintendent of Los Angeles Unified, I would remind school staff that I wasn't the head principal and I wasn't the head teacher. My job was to give people who worked in schools what they needed. That's the same approach a mayor needs to take, listening to the people who do the work in neighborhoods across Los Angeles, not standing at a podium in City Hall. During my visit a few months ago, the firefighters and paramedics at Station 63 told me about too many calls being handled by too few people. We can see that in the data, but they also told me they're spending as much as 20% of their time responding to calls that aren't true medical emergencies. Incidents like a person with a leg cramp, a dispute in a restaurant when a hungry person couldn't get free food, and even a person who called 911 for someone to come to their house and turn off a fan. I visited other fire stations and heard similar stories. The answer's obvious. Let's not send an ambulance and tie up highly trained professionals at a cost of about $3,000 every time the door opens and an ambulance leaves, every time someone calls 911. We can still treat callers with care and compassion. The person with the leg cramp, let's tell them about hydration, help them find a UCLA Health website, and provide them with a location of an urgent care clinic near where they live. Connect a hungry person with a food bank, and maybe even provide an Uber voucher to get them there. And the fan, who may be 1-800-BEST-BUY, will have to suffice. This simple, common-sense approach will get an ambulance to your home 10 to 20% faster, and will set the stage for an informed and much-needed conversation about making sure the fire department has the budget to add stations, firefighters and paramedics, along with the equipment they need. In case you're wondering, this video is about 4.5 minutes. Try holding your breath that long until help arrives.